Hello, this is a third example of the same opening Evans Gambit. This game is from 1995, so almost 30 years from now, and played between two extremely strong players, Kasparov, then the world champion, and Anand, who was competing with Kasparov on the World Championship in 1995, the same year that the game was played. So extremely strong player. In the first 8 games of the World Championship between them, they drew all the 8 games. The 9th game was won by Anand, but then in the next 5 games, Kasparov won 4 times, and 1 game was drawn. So at the end of the match, Kasparov won 10.5 points to 7.5 points of Anand and remained the world champion. So let's see this exciting game played by both very, very strong players. So e4, e5, nf3, nc6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5, b4, and this is the starting position of the Evans Gambit. So black takes the pawn, white advances with c to c3, and black withdrew his bishop to e7. White advances the d pawn to the center, d4, and black doesn't take immediately the pawn, but goes with the knight to a5, attacking the bishop, and the bishop withdrew to e2. Now pawn takes d4, and white takes the pawn with the queen, attacking the g7 pawn, which the bishop no longer defends. So knight f6, protecting the pawn, e5 attacking the knight, knight c6 attacking the queen, and queen to h4. Still the knight is attacked by the pawn and goes to d5. Now the queen is attacked by both the bishop and the queen and withdraws to g3, still attacking the pawn. Now maybe the best move would be to castle, but black does g6 immediately. Why g6 immediately? Because he thinks if I castle, white will come to h6 with the bishop threatening mate. I will have to go g6, and then my rook will be taken by the bishop. But actually this is not so bad because queen takes the bishop. Excuse me. And now black is almost completely developed, has the exchange, but has a pawn for the exchange. The white pawn are scattered on the board. It's approximately equal position. So black decides to go g6 immediately, and white castles. Now black should castle again and remain, continue to his development, but he decides first to withdraw with the knight from the center of the board. White continues with c4, continues harassing the knights and opening the long diagonal to his bishop. Maybe it will be of use. Black does d6, and white goes rook to d1. What's the idea? Of course, black cannot take the pawn because now the rook is threatening his queen. The rook is on an open line. Of course, it's much more dangerous on an open line. On f1, it didn't do almost nothing. And black goes with the knight to d7. If you just look at the position, you will see that almost all black's pieces, the heavy pieces at least, are not developed at all. Both rooks and the queen are still on the starting position, and also this bishop is still on c8. Now, white takes the bishop to h6, preventing the castling, and black takes the pawn. White takes the knight, black takes the knight again, and now white develops his last piece to c3. The rooks are connected, all the pieces are on the board, while black still is not castled, and only two pieces went from the starting position. So what to do now? Black should develop his bishop to f5. This could be a good move. Maybe castling on the left side, but fearing for the future of the knight, he preferred to defend the knight like this with f6. White immediately attacks the pawn. Remember, the queen is on the same line as the rook. The pawn cannot be taken, and black goes with the knight to f7. Again, a move with the same piece, contradictory to the basic, it's not a law, but it's common sense of the opening. Don't move the same piece more than once. Of course, Anand knows all of this. He's one of the best players in the world, and he thinks this move is the best he can find. White doesn't even protect the bishop, but he goes c takes the pawn on d6, threatening, of course, the bishop, and black takes the pawn back with the pawn on c. Now, white protects the bishop. Again, this bishop cannot move because the queen will attack the king. So black decides to take the bishop, white takes the knight. Again, look at the position. All white pieces are developed. Only one piece of black is developed, and he cannot castle. So a very, very bad position for black. Black challenges the white queen. It's forced to move, and the queen gives check to the king. The king goes to f7, and white advances his knight, threatening this pawn, not immediately, but if I add the queen, it will be dangerous. And finally, black develops a piece, bishop to e6. White immediately attacks it. Now it's attacked twice. It has to be protected. So the queen goes to e7, and rook comes to e1. Now, I will challenge you and ask you to maybe stop the video and think, why did black resign in this position? Actually, black resigned in this position. Remember, he is one of the very best players in the world. Why did he think that his position is so hopeless that he'll resign? Okay, If you decided to think about it and pause your video and just came back, you're most welcome. If you decided to continue to listen to the video and see what Black's possible moves would cause, so here are some examples. Let's say just a trivial move like Rook C8, White takes the bishop, Black takes the knight, and White takes the queen. King takes the queen, bishop to G4, double chess, the rook and the bishop. The king has to leave, to move somewhere, and now we are a whole rook up, and the position is totally hopeless. Let's see what happens if I go bishop h6. So the knight cannot move because the queen will be lost, but I can play this. The bishop cannot take the white bishop because the queen is not protected. I will just take the queen with my queen, and I will show you bishop takes, queen takes. It's totally hopeless. I'm up a queen. Impossible. So bishop h6, bishop c4. This is totally lost. Let's see another possibility, bishop f5. Now the queen is protected by the bishop at f8. What can we do? We'll give a check to the black king. Now, where can the king go? If he goes to g7, I will just take the queen. Bishop takes the queen, and the rook will take the queen, and I'll remain a bishop up. What more can I do? I can do d5, but then immediately you will take it. And I will play this king d7, and again I will lose the bishop. What other move can I? Anyway, you see that in all those variations it's lost, because if I move the bishop, I have 3 pieces on the one piece of black, which is defended twice. But let's see what will happen if I go rook e8. Then queen to d4. Now I'm threatening again to move the bishop, attack this bishop, and the rook will threaten the queen if I move it. Let's see, for example, the best move, bishop h6. Bishop h6. I take the bishop, queen takes, I go like this. The queen cannot take the rook because it will be on check. Whatever I do, I'm lost. I can advance, but then again, if I move with the king, the queen will be taken. Nothing to do. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the game. If you have any question, you are invited to ask me, and have a good day.